So today, we're going to talk about the 5 high-ticket sales secrets they don't want you to know. What I'm going to do tonight is I want to share a recipe with you. A what? Recipe. My goal is not to convert you into high-ticket sales. I'm simply sharing a recipe, and there might be ingredients that from that recipe that might apply to you, and that might add some value to your business.
The king of high-ticket sales. World's highest paid consultant. Media celebrity. Multi-millionaire entrepreneur. Acclaimed TEDx speaker. International best-selling author. Dan Lok.
I want to start off by sharing a story with you and how I first discovered the high-ticket selling world. Many years ago when I was a copywriter, when I was in my early 20s, and I was, because of my mentor, Alan, and some of you know my mentor, and he was the one that's teaching me marketing and copywriting and how to write ads. And in my early 20s, and I first was getting a few clients, and I was working with a few clients. And I was charging about $1,000 per project, like a campaign. So someone won an ad, I would charge them $1,000. And I was working with a couple of clients here and there, it was okay. And suddenly my mentor, Alan, said, hey, you know what, Dan? You should increase your prices. I said, okay, but I've only been doing this like for 6 months. I haven't been doing this for a long time. Well, has any one of your clients asked you, how long have you been doing this? No. Yeah, then raise your prices. I said, okay. So I'm thinking maybe like $1,100. I add like 10%. That seems to be pretty good. Nah, I said, fuck that. No, $2,000. What the fuck? $2,000? Like double my price? $2,000? Yes. So $1,000. I want to charge $2,000. Double your price. And I said, I can't. I'm going to lose all my clients. No one's going to hire me. I mean, I don't have enough experience. Like, how could I charge? I can't charge. No, you see, most people at my age, they're happy they're making $1,000 per client. $2,000 is impossible. Just do it. I can't. Here's what I want you to do. You go home, you practice in front of the mirror, asking for twice as much money. But I'm not comfortable with it. Just do it. I said, okay, so listen to my mentor. One thing about me is I'm very coachable. So I said, great. I go home and practice. And after I talked to a few clients, I quoted the 2K. And the funny thing is, I noticed it wasn't harder to sell at 2K versus 1K. Now, after I got a few more clients, I go talk to my mentor again. He said, Dan, is that time again? I said, what do you mean? Time to jack up the price. Again? I've been only doing this for like a few months. Yes, again. Like what? Like 4,000? Yeah, that's good, 4,000. You are insane. Nobody would pay a 20-something years old 4K to write a letter? No. And they said, just do it. Okay, fine. Practice, and I do it, and the same thing happened. I found it, I closed just as the same at 4,000 as at 2,000. Now, what's happening with my profit at this point? I'm doing the same work. 4,000 versus 2,000. I'm making more money, yes? Yes. And after a few more clients, and it's just a few months gone by, talk to my mentor again. Dan, you know what I'm going to say, right? I said, no. Yes. I said, no. I said, yes. How much? $10,000. I said, you're fucking nuts. He said, 10K. Nobody would pay 10K. I couldn't even say 10K. I don't even, like, how many zeros is that? I can't do it. He said, this time, go home, really practice. And this time, I go home and I practice in front of the mirror, literally. How much you charge? $10,000. Okay, that's maybe not good. Okay. How much you charge? It's like asking a girl on a date, right? It's like you're so nervous. It's like $10,000. Yeah, $10,000. Yeah. And I said, no, that's not good. And I practice until I can quote it with a straight face. How much you charge? 10K. No stutter, no hesitation. I'm not doing the body language. How much charge? 10,000, that's not good, right? So I did that. And I remember the phone call. The client was calling me, and he threw a referral. He was asking me, well, how much you charge? We have the conversation, I find out his needs. Now, I've practiced, yes? I've practiced. I said, $10,000. He's like, whew, that's a lot more than what I thought you would charge. Because I think my friend told me you charge like 4,000, something like that. Yeah, that was the old rate. And you need a lot more work than I thought. So, well, that's a little bit outside of our budget. And we're not thinking about spending that much, but you come highly recommended. Can I do like half down, like 5K down, and then half when it's completed? Yeah, that would work. That's usually how I do it, exactly. That's exactly how we do it. Half down and half, and I just shut the fuck up, right? Awesome. So how would you like to pay the first half? And that was my first $10,000 client. So in my early 20s, I was making $10K a month as a copywriter, not working with 10 clients at a time. I worked with basically 1 to 2 clients a month. That was that. And I put on and sometimes if when it comes to marketing pieces, marketing materials and literatures, it takes weeks to craft something good. Because I need to do the research, find out about their customer base, learn about their product. It takes a little bit of time. So every month, I just work on 1 or 2 clients, and that was that. And that was my first aha when it comes to high-ticket selling, that when you sell at a higher price, it doesn't take more effort to sell something at $10,000 compared to something at $1,000. That's what I've learned. In some cases, it's easier to sell something at $10,000 versus $1,000. And tonight I'll prove that to you why I said that. Hi, this is Dan Lok. Welcome to Dan Lok TV. I want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now you might ask, why should I? Every week I'll post 2 new videos, all focusing on helping you becoming a better entrepreneur. You will be challenged, and you will be inspired, and you will be motivated. More importantly, you'll get practical ideas and strategies that will take your business to the next level. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification so you don't miss out on a single episode. I promise you, you won't regret it.